So in a witch's primer, we talk a lot about timing of spellcasting. There's a whole lesson on it. And we follow along pretty much with what's common practice in magic these days. So, and it's very workable, it's very effective, and it's fabulous. But as we move into more and more advanced magic, we tend to tighten up our timing just a little bit. So I'm going to talk to you about how we do that right now. So this, when you look up an almanac or a moon calendar, either online or in a book, you find something like this usually. And here you can see this is called the new moon in the calendar. You can see that it's dark. And the new moon in the calendar is when the sun and moon are conjunct. So that means from the point of view of the earth, it appears that they are rising and setting at the same time together, which means that the face of the moon is completely obscured and we can't see it. So that's what they call the new moon in the calendars. They always have, and they always probably will. But we in the craft call that the dark moon, at least in the way that I'm teaching you. Okay? And you can see that this day before and the day after are pretty dark here as well. So we consider that a 3-day orb. The day before the dark moon, the day of the dark moon, and the day after the dark moon are all considered the dark moon for us, that 3-day orb. Now, for us, we do no magic on the dark moon, no spell casting or invoking. Now, you can still do purification, you can still do meditations, you can do psalm work, you can do rosary, you can pray, you can do all kinds of things, but no spell casting, no practical magic, and no major rituals for invocations of angels or deities on the dark moon, the way that we practice it. So you can see that even though in this calendar it says that the new moon is on the 16th, if we consider that 3-day orb the entire dark moon, for us the first day of the new moon doesn't really happen until here, the 18th, when there's an actual visible crescent that appears in the sky as the sun is setting if there is no cloud cover obscuring it. Now, technically, if you can see because depending on when this conjunction happens during the day, sometimes on the day after the new moon, as the sun is setting, you can see a visible crescent, and so you're probably okay to do new moon magic on the day after if that's the case. But for us, we usually just take that 3 days off completely, no matter what, and we consider the day after that 3-day orb to be the new moon. Now, the entire waxing phase from new to full is considered a time when we do magic for increase and a time that we do magic for drawing things in, for stuff that we want to bring about. Now, when you get to the full moon here, you can see they've kind of darked it out, but the day before, the day of, and the day after the full moon is considered a 3-day orb as well. But there's no, we can work magic right through the full moon. We don't have to take any time off on the full moon. But the thing that's a little different than common practice to the tradition that we practice and that we teach here is that the new moon is when we do all the most powerful time for waxing moon magic. A lot of people will teach that the full moon is the apex of that, so that's the most powerful time for waxing magic. In fact, we don't say that at all. We say the full moon is the most powerful time to do waning moon magic or banishing. Waning moon or banishing magic. And so that entire first week after the full moon, that's considered the third quarter, that whole week is the most powerful time for waning moon magic, and that entire week of the new moon, of that first day after the dark moon, all the way through to the beginning of the second quarter, is the most powerful time for waxing moon magic. Okay, the second week of each phase are considered the weaker phases. You can still work magic, but so your second quarter of the waxing phase is not as strong, is not as powerful as that first quarter, contrary to what is commonly taught. A lot of people think that when you see that the moon getting real big, that's when your magic is going to be most powerful in the waxing phase. We don't see it that way at all. We see it the magnetic pull is much stronger here whereas the magnetic resistance, the ebbing, the ebb cycle starts here. And that first week after the full moon is the most powerful time for banishing magic. And that second week of the full moon, the second week of the waning moon, also called the fourth quarter, is the weakest time. Okay, so remember that we take the entire dark moon off from magic, and there's one other time that we take off, and that is the eclipses. So if there's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, we don't work any magic. So if there's a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, we work no magic during the eclipses, and we work no magic during the dark moon. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to work with you, and I cannot wait to work with you again. And until that time, blessed be.